Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Well, have a new tool out here in the shop, and I'm very excited to share this thing with you. So before we kind of get into what this thing actually is, I want to tell you a little bit about why I got this thing. I think a little bit of explanation is in order, and then we'll give this thing a proper rundown, and I'll tell you all about it and everything I've figured out since having it. So one of the problems I've had in doing lapidary work and polishing and stuff has specifically been with Thundereggs. Now what you're seeing here is a Lucky Strike Thunderegg that comes from Central Oregon. This is just the outside, of course, and this is what the inside looks like. Now you can see all of these marks on there. That's from my saw. That does not look good, and that can be a huge pain to try to polish out. So this thing is too big though for my high-tech flat lap. So what do? And in my own experience of polishing these Lucky Strike Thundereggs, we have a couple of problems here. I'll show you. Right? See what happened right here? This rhyolite exterior like sheds off and gets impregnated in these resin discs, and it's all wet. And it goes around and it creates additional scratches in the agate, because it's not being like ground down and coming off. It's like shattering off, right? And this comes through and scrapes against your polished face, and you can polish this, and then you get these like streaks going through it. I'm not the only one that's experienced this problem. And, like my buddy Sean's had the same problem. A number of people I've talked to have had the similar problem with these Lucky Strike eggs. So what are some of the alternatives? Well, you have these things. These are diamond polishing pads. They do work. They 100% work. You get this like adapter thing, and it's Velcro, right? And sticks on there. These absolutely are functionable. I think Rookie Rockhounding down in Australia, he does all of his polishing with this, but it takes a long time, right? He will tell you that the diamond pads are not fast. This is not, if you have a bucket of rocks, if you have hundreds of things to polish, you're going to lose your mind polishing with these. I don't have that kind of time. So I needed another alternative. I needed something faster. That would actually polish these with their crumbly rhyolite. Well, I found it, okay? Now, I'm gonna show you the other half of this, and this is not completely polished. This is just close, right? You can still see it's kind of milky, got milkiness to this. This is not polished, but it's getting there, okay? But even there, like, you can really see the difference. We can see how this is coming out. I'm going to rock the light all across this, and you'll see that it's far from glossy, like wet look. If we compare it to something that does have that kind of wet look, let's see here. I got to grab something. Forgive me. I should have been more prepared here. Let's grab this guy. Okay, so you can see this, right? We have this like that's got a fingerprint on it. Jeez Louise. Okay, you can see we have this beautiful Thunderegg. This was polished by Kyle, World of Rockhounds. So it looks beautiful. Now, why is this one beautiful and this isn't? Well, we're going to get into that. I still need another tool to be able to buff something out that is this big. And I think now is a good time to talk about the machine. So this here is the Richardson's Ranch high-speed sander. Now, Richardson's Ranch is a Thunderegg bed business shop in Central Oregon. I have been wanting to build one of these. Now, I got this thing for such a screaming good deal, I couldn't build it for what I paid for it. I mean, to give you an idea, I was going to build this wood. All the blue you see here is wood. And it was probably going to be at least $100 of wood. I mean, if you got to buy a 3/4 inch thick sheet of plywood today, June 2021, well, you're looking at $75, $80 for a single sheet of plywood, and then not to mention some of this thinner stuff as well. you know, a motor was going to be like $250 or so. So I like this machine. It's well designed. It's designed by people that polish Thundereggs for a living, all right? And it does a fabulous, fabulous job. So what we have here is a motor. This is a high-speed motor, 3,450 RPM, 3/4 horsepower. Down here, directly driven off the shaft, we have a coupler, and then we have an edge floor sander pad. We're going to be talking about some of the safety aspects of this as well. We have a hood here. I had to make a little adapter because my shop vac, the nozzle is of a different size, right? They offer a adapter, but it was still incorrect. I had to do that. I fixed that. Oops, sorry. This switch here, this switch it broke pretty quickly, like my first time using it, but that was like a $4 part, and well, we have a very functionable high-speed sander. Now, it's got some holders here. This holder was cracked, so I had to do some gluing, but overall, it's with a little bit of effort, it's a very usable tool. So let's get this up on the bench and I'll kind of show you the ins and outs of how this thing functions. Here's some of how this works, okay? You have to have a shop vac. We have a little rigid shop vac, and it runs behind and into this hood here, and it plugs in to the actual unit. So when you turn the motor on and this starts to spin, the vac pulls air and collects like 98% of the dust. There's certainly some old forum posts where people talk about how dangerous these things are, and this is dangerous. We'll be getting to that. They talk about, you know, being a cloud of dust and all of that. That's not the case if you have a shop vac. So this shop vac has a clean filter and a filter bag inside it, all right? And that makes it so that it really does a good job of containing all of the dust. And we'll be talking about some of the downsides here too. But this sander, you just take these floor sanding pads, like this just so happens to be a 60 grit. So you can see the pad here. This is like a rubber flexible pad. Some people have modified theirs to use hook and loop Velcro pads, which certainly would speed up the process somewhat. But the way this works is you have this nut here, right? And you take your pad, it goes through the center, just like this. And you kind of get it started, right? It normally would come with a wrench. Mine didn't come with one, so I just made one out of some scrap aluminum, and goes up here in that. And when you fully tighten it, that nut actually recesses up into the rubber pad some, and you can go across it without hitting it. So, you know, imagine this is it. There's a little gap there, so you're not actually rubbing your rock on the metal. It's just kind of tucked up in there in the actual sanding pad. And you can kind of see, I mean, that other half of that Thunderegg, right, easily fits on this, and you can move something big side to side, and you know, you can polish something much larger than this 7-inch pad. You know, it does have some storage on the side here for different grits of pad. I bought pads in the grits of 80, 120, 220, 400, and 800. Now you gotta remember, grit is just a measurement of that, like the amount of grit on a pad. It doesn't tell you what the grit is. I'm using all silicon carbide pads. It's what Richardson's recommends, and they also sell. These pads, they're basically disposable, right? You know, at 50 cents a pad or 40 cents a pad, I forget what I paid, 40 cents a pad, pretty affordable, and use them and toss them when they're done. You can definitely get a number of rocks out of each grit of pad. Dangers to it, dust, yeah, there you can vacuum up the majority of the dust, but it is a respirator tool. The danger, the way I see it, comes from the edge of this, okay? Now, we'll move you in here. Do you see that lip there that sticks out right there? So this is a 7-inch pad, and these, like a 7-inch rubber back, or these pads, they're like 7 1/8 or something. So you get this edge. And when this starts spinning at 3,450 RPM, it's like a knife. It's like a knife, and what could happen, or has happened to some people, is you're moving your rocket and your finger is above, just like this, and it touches that, and it slices your finger open. Just like, it's like a spinning box cutter blade. It's definitely not a tool for the faint of hearts, or kids, or people that don't know what they're doing. It's like a table saw, right? In that it functions incredibly well. It's incredibly fast, and it's not something to play around with and, you know, be listening to music and drinking beers while using. You could certainly mess yourself up. Direct drive tools on motors is dangerous inherently. Dust is dangerous. These things are part of it. You can mitigate all of that. You know, I try to keep the hall monitoring to a very minimum here on the channel, but I feel like this is actually something where it's like, that's kind of sketch, right? And you'll see when we start using this that this pad's going to kind of flutter around, and we'll test cutting something on the edges here in a moment. So the Thunderegg half that you saw, that I took up to 800 grit. Typically there is also a low speed cerium oxide buffing wheel that Richardson's makes and sells and they use. I don't have that. So that would be that's the next tool, to build one of those, buy one of those. I know that Kyle, World of Rockhounds again, he has a homemade Biber, whatever, carpet wheel that you put cerium oxide on and you can buff out big things. And it's like, the cerium oxide step is what's needed. That's the thing that would take that hazy milkiness off of the 800 grit. And to put it in perspective, you know, you have like aluminum oxide, silicon carbide, different types of pads. Silicon carbide's like the best for stone, as far as sanding goes. So let's get something to cut. So what do you think? Do you think the outside of a banana is close to the consistency of the pad of your thumb? So I'm going to turn this thing on now. It is going to be loud, and I will dial down the sound in the video. But I'll leave it up for a second so you can kind of hear. And well, that's your thumb, right? That's the tip of your thumb if you touch the edge of that. So this is a tool that you can and should be using gloves with. So here's the setup. I got a bucket with some water. I'll be cleaning the Thunderegg between grits, and I'll just kind of be dunking it. And an interesting thing, I'll show you how much of this rhyolite just kind of falls off, and the big pieces will land here, and then when I dunk it between grits, it'll go there. And I'll probably spend about 30 seconds to 45 seconds-ish on each grit, so all 5 grits. So we're looking at about 3 minutes to get this up to the point where you'd be able to take it over to a cerium oxide wheel. Yeah, and that, have this guy on, have the gloves on, and well, let's start polishing. So I just finished up with that side of the Thunderegg. And you know, one of the things that people say on the internet is that these things make a huge dust cloud and a giant mess, and you can see everything would have been going over here. Where's all my dust? This is just general dust in my shop, right? We got dust in the hood where it's being collected. We got some of this crumbly material from the Thunderegg there where I was letting it dry out. And then you can see this obviously had more water in it before, but how much like grime and stuff, that's just from the Thunderegg, the back of it just kind of shedding off. So this is the one I did before, and this is the one that we just finished up. Now, you can see we still got some scratches in there. We still got some cloudiness, but like I said before, well, it's not done. And I think that, oh, come on. Here, let's get a kickstand going. It's definitely not done, and that's okay. I do think that the machine serves a purpose, as far as these larger Thundereggs go. I mean, who knows best on how to polish Thundereggs than somebody that invented their own machine to polish Thundereggs? They sell them for a living. And, well, I think what's happening with these specific eggs is doing it dry means that the stuff gets flung out and sucked up by the vacuum, and you don't get that circular streak going through as a piece of this rhyolite breaks off and scratches up your nice Thunderegg. Next step is going to be, of course, getting a big cerium oxide wheel. And, I would say this one came out a little bit better, but if we buffed that thing out with cerium oxide now, I think it would be glossy, mirrored finish. So, I think it's worth it. I'm happy to have it in the shop. I don't think it's as bad as some of the stuff that I've heard people say online. And there's actually only like one video talking about the Richardson Ranch high-speed sander, and they don't really explain much. I do think it's nice. I like it. The pads, I could see the benefit of upgrading to a hook and loop system. I could see the benefit of working in batches, right? Like, don't just polish one Thunderegg, polish like 5, 10 at a time, so you're not having to deal with taking the pads on and off, because that's kind of the slow part here is that. As far as the cost of the pads go, let me grab one here. So, anybody that has like a cab machine can tell you that the wheels on those cab machines are expensive. They're expensive. The nice thing with this is, well, you could buy these in bulk and probably get your price kind of down there. I'll be looking into that. I might get some 60 grits. Might get 1,000 grit as well, just to play with those. But if you look at, even if you threw the discs out like every 2 Thundereggs or whatever, what you're looking at like $2 to polish a Thunderegg. I mean, how much wear and tear goes on a Nova wheel, I mean, the added value of a polished Thunderegg versus an unpolished is huge. I mean, I'm not one to delve into the prices of things, like, what things go for on eBay and Etsy and all of that. But the difference between a cut Thunderegg and an uncut is big. The difference between a cut and a polished is really big. So it's certainly worth it. And of course, like that, this is beautiful. I mean, I think this is a lovely, lovely Thunderegg. And I'll be happy when it's super, super mirrored, buffed out. The detail in this is crazy, right? And I have more things like this that I can work on in the future. So, I think we're going to call this one wraps, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. And stay tuned for more of the Richardson Ranch high-speed sander. Thank you so much for watching my entire video. If you like the content that I'm producing here on this channel and you want to support the content even further, you can do so by becoming a channel member by hitting the join button down below. The membership comes with a growing library of exclusive videos and just great other extra content. So just follow the links down below, and I will see you on the next video.